From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are following at this hour. Detailed Army plans for a potential military parade on Pumpkinführer Donald Trump's birthday in June call for more than 6,600 soldiers, at least 150 vehicles, 50 helicopters, 7 bands, and possibly a couple thousand civilians, the Associated Press has learned. The planning documents obtained by the AP are dated April 29th and 30th and have not been publicly released. They represent the Army's most recent blueprint for its long-planned 250th anniversary festival. Festival on the National Mall, and the newly added element, a large military parade that Trump has long wanted, but is still being discussed. The Army anniversary just happens to coincide with the Pumpkinführer's 79th birthday on June 14th, which is coincidentally Flag Day and 5 days before Juneteenth. While the slides do not include any price estimates, it would cost likely tens of millions of dollars to put on a parade of that size, and costs would include the movement of military vehicles, equipment, aircraft, and troops from across the country to Washington, and the need to feed and house thousands of service members. Undoubtedly, Hitler would have been impressed if he pulls this off. In other military news, the U.S. Army is having a yard sale, and all sales are final. Everything must go. The Army is planning a sweeping transformation that will merge or close headquarters, dump outdated vehicles and aircraft, and slash as many as 1,000 headquarters staff in the Pentagon and shift personnel to units in the field, according to a new memo and U.S. officials familiar with the changes. In a memo released Thursday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered the transformation to build a leaner, more lethal force. Discussions about the changes have been going on ever since he pulled up to the bar for weeks, including decisions to combine a number of Army commands. Colonel Dave Butler, an Army spokesman, said the potential savings over 5 years would be nearly $40 billion. In other words, Pete Hegseth's bar tab. U.S. officials said as many as 40 general officer slots could be cut as a result of the restructuring, and they spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss personnel issues. The changes come as the Pentagon is under pressure to slash spending and personnel as part of the broader federal government cuts pushed by President Donald Trump's administration and ally Elon Musk's DOGE, or Department of Government Efficiency. And now, oh, you're going to love this. Southern states are now free to pretend they won the Civil War. When the Justice Department lifted a school desegregation order in Louisiana this week, officials called its continued existence a historical wrong and suggested that others dating to the civil rights movement should be reconsidered. The end of the 1966 legal agreement with Plaquemines Parish schools, announced Tuesday, shows the Trump administration is getting America refocused on our bright future, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon said. Inside the Justice Department, officials appointed by President Donald Trump, the dotard, have expressed desire to withdraw from other desegregation orders they see as unnecessary and a burden on schools, according to a person familiar with the issue who was granted anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. Dozens of school districts across the South remain under court-enforced agreements dictating steps to work toward integration decades after the Supreme Court struck down racial segregation in education. Some see the court order's endurance as a sign the government never eradicated segregation, which they didn't, while officials in Louisiana, go figure, and at some schools see the orders as bygone relics that should be wiped away, just like any Confederate general statues that are left behind after the Civil War. They all need to be wiped away too. The Justice Department opened a wave of cases in the 1960s after Congress unleashed the department to go after schools that resisted desegregation. Known as consent decrees, the orders can be lifted when districts prove they have eliminated segregation and its legacy, which they certainly have not. In other words, the regime is just pretending that the civil rights movement of the 1960s and 70s never happened. Rewriting and whitewashing history is just something they do. That's the news for this hour. The regime marches on, destroying any semblance of what the so-called United States used to be. Hope you follow us on YouTube and subscribe to the PEP Radio channel. Up next is the local weather forecast for the Meadville area here on PEP Radio.